السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه أما بعد. So to continue with our Iman series, I will give a very quick recap on what was discussed yesterday. And as I mentioned, now we have begun with the topic itself, the subject matter itself, and this requires you to pay full attention. I just want your attention for the next 7 to 8 minutes, that is it. I won't demand more than that, inshallah. Because this is the most important aspect to our lives. This is what our success for our hereafter, this is what it lies on. Whether we do have the right Iman, the right understanding of it, and whether we did submit and accept it or not. So it's an extremely important topic, especially for the teenagers and the youth. So yesterday we were discussing about the concept of Iman itself, the concept of faith. And we said Iman is a compound made up of 3 components, essential components. The dismissal of any of the 3 will make that Iman, that belief, that faith, null and void. It will render it void. And we said those 3 components: a belief in the heart, which we discussed yesterday, profession by the tongue, which we'll discuss today, and last but not least, followed by the actions of the limbs. So before I discuss about the second component, let me give a recap on what we discussed yesterday. Belief in the heart is one of the essential components, because the heart is the locus of Iman, or its foundation, so to speak. If what is inside here, if it is sound and proper, everything else will be sound and proper. If what is in here is corrupt, the heart is corrupt, and I'm not speaking about the physical heart, I'm speaking about the spiritual aspect of it. If that is corrupt, then everything else is corrupt. Remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, وَإِنَّ لَفِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً, and in the body lies an essential organ. إِذَا صَلُحَتْ صَلُحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. This organ is so crucial that if it remains sound, then everything else is sound. If it's corrupt, if it's filled with filth, if it is stained and soiled with evil, then every other organ will be filthy. Every other organ will remain to be corrupt. But belief in the heart cannot be achieved unless the 2 aspects of it are met. Number 1, the statement of the heart. Number 2, the action of the heart. The statement of the heart to recognize and to know the truth and to affirm to that truth. That's the statement of the heart. The action of the heart, we said, cannot be achieved unless after realizing, after knowing, after affirming to the truth, you submit to it and accept it. So in general, a lot of people recognize the truth, but they don't submit to it. And at times what can happen, the heart can be stained with diseases. It can be attacked by the diseases of the heart to the point that one may deny to recognize the truth. He might fail to recognize the truth. And at some time the diseases of the heart can be so strong that a person dismisses to recognize it altogether. And that's very dangerous. Then a person becomes completely bereft of Iman. So that was the first component of the 3. Number 2, profession by the tongue. And this is the second essential component. To utter the statement of faith with your tongue. And this is, one's Iman will not be realized unless he professes it with his tongue. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he spoke about Islam in the hadith of Jibril, he said, أَن تَشْهَدَ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. For someone to say, لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ مُحَمَّدٌ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. This is how someone enters into the fold of Islam. He has to utter it with the tongue. But we will all agree that a mere profession by the tongue, simply uttering the words, is not sufficient for a person to be called a believer. We all know that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. There are so many people, and in this particular verse, Allah is referring to the hypocrites in Medina. There are so many of these hypocrites, of these people amongst the hypocrites, who have stated with their tongue, they have professed it with their tongue, that there isn't any God who deserves to be worshipped except for Allah. Amanna billahi wal yawmil akhir. We believe in Allah and the hereafter. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dismisses the iman. He says, وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. They're not believers. So it's not sufficient just to utter it. That is why we say, the scholars say, profession by the tongue plays a twofold role. Number one, it's a statement of fact. It's a statement of fact. One is testifying that he recognizes what he is uttering is the utmost truth. It's truthful. This is like a person who is giving a testimony in a court of law. When you are being called as a witness, you are testifying that what I am saying, the statements that I have uttered, the testimony that I have given is a fact, and I believe it to be true. And that is why you are a witness. You're a testifier. So that is number one. It's a statement of fact. Number two, commitment to that fact. Meaning, admission and acceptance and commitment that I accept to do whatever it takes for me to be a believer. Whatever I have uttered, whatever it requires, I am committed to this fact. So lastly, as I end, the scholars say, the utterance of these words must be accompanied by a sincere attempt to implement the following three things. Number one, the correct belief in the Lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and its related aspects, which we will discuss in detail. What did I say? The correct belief in the Lordship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and its related aspects. Number two, the abandonment of any kind of association with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, abandonment of that. Last but not least, the following and implementation of the laws of Islam. The following and the implementation of the laws of Islam. So when a person says, I have uttered the statement of faith with my tongue, it will not be valid unless this utterance is followed by these three things that I have mentioned. So we have discussed the first component, that is belief in the heart. The second component, profession by the tongue. The third component, the following of deeds by the limbs. Salah, fasting, zakah, that is what comes after.